Now, if you will all please join me in welcoming the Executive Director of the Ignatian Solidarity Network, Kerr.
Thank you very much, and good evening. On behalf of our staff and our board of directors, I just want to welcome each of you to the 16th annual Ignatian Family Teach-In for Justice. And I want to make a special welcome to many of you who have come from institutions that are not sponsored by the Jesuits, and make a special welcome to you and let you know that you are part of our Ignatian family as much as everyone else. So thank you. Let's give a round of applause to those folks. I want to speak to our theme, this very special theme we have this year, but first I wanted to try to contextualize how we've gotten to be here. It's hard to believe that we've been gathering for 16 years. For those of you who, well, some of you weren't even alive 16 years ago, so that's kind of depressing for me. But, you know, the teach-in has grown and changed in many ways over the years. But one thing has remained consistent in this gathering. We gather in the context of our faith and our commitment to social justice. For each of us, this means different things. Some of us are old enough to remember the first teach-ins in Georgia, gathering only a few years after the Jesuit martyrs were killed in El Salvador. We came together in the tent. Our ears were often cold, our feet were often wet, but our hearts were inspired in those early years. It moved us to keep gathering, and the tent would become a precursor to what is now the ISN logo, a tent representing the broad range of people and institutions who are part of the Ignatian family. From there, a number of you remember the time we spent in the Columbus Convention Center and the passionate speakers and powerful liturgies where many friends of the SOA Watch movement joined us to celebrate Mass. And in 2010, we moved here to D.C. Our guise changed from putting our feet on the streets outside Fort Benning to engaging a broader range of issues in the halls of Congress. And today, as we arrive here, prepared to learn, to reflect, to pray, and take action as advocates for humane immigration reform, a fairer minimum wage, and continued support of the most vulnerable in our country. But most of us did not find our way here on our own. Each of us has been inspired to seek deeper meaning and deeper understanding of complex justice issues, to be challenged to grow in our faith, and to do all of this as one community, one Ignatian family. For some, it might have been a passionate Jesuit teacher. For others, it was a Catholic sister or diocesan priest, or a lay minister, a professor, a friend that brought us to be part of this family, what we often talk about as the Ignatian family. And as we gather in the context of this beautiful theme, illuminating the horizon of hope, it's a call to action from our new Pope. Pope Francis has taken the world by storm by offering a new vision for what church is. And I think he would very much approve of this gathering, and not just because he's a Jesuit Pope, of course, but now, for me, illuminating the horizon of hope brings together two powerful elements. First, I'm moved by the idea of something being illuminated, being provided the light to shine brightly and boldly. Many of us have woken early in the morning to go for a run, a walk, or a head to work, and have been moved by the beauty of our earth being illuminated by sunlight. Others might have had the experience of hiking in the mountains or walking on the beach far from the streetlights and discovering that beautiful illuminated sky filled with stars and a moon. Or maybe that there was a special feeling as we sat by a fire or watched a Christmas tree light up for the first time on a cold winter night, or a warm winter night in California. Illumination shows us a way. It provides us a path. It can offer us direction in our work, our ministry, our service, our studies, our relationships. This weekend, we might consider how have the paths in our lives been illuminated. But more challenging maybe the idea of hope amid so much sadness, devastation, and death in our world, what often seems like darkness. In the prayer, we were asked to experience darkness for a few minutes. Over the past week, most of us have likely been disturbed by the destruction and loss of life in the Philippines. Elsewhere, we find continued violence in places like Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria. We've learned about apparel workers trapped in factories in Bangladesh, people migrating to our country, dying in the desert, and we know that our earth is crying to be cared for as climates become more volatile and oceans rise. Needless to say, it would be easy to concede that there is little hope in our world and to go on our merry way, acting only for ourselves, serving only our own needs, taking care of number one and only number one. But fortunately, in our world, there are many signals that hope exists. In the Philippines, amid the destruction last week, there are likely thousands of stories of compassionate individuals illuminating hope amid the darkness for each other. There was a city ravaged by the typhoon where Father Oliver Mazo, a 37-year-old Catholic priest, welcomed over 250 people into his church, a small cinder block structure to seek shelter from the typhoon. He said, "I blessed the room and we huddled together. The wind was devastating, really terrible, and we could hear trees falling and crashing against the walls. There was a lot of screaming, but we prayed, we stayed together, and we survived." We stayed together and we survived. We stayed together and we survived. Throughout history, we have learned about great social movements and passionate leaders who have inspired us to be people of service, of justice, of hope. Dr. King taught us to have a dream where all people can walk together as brothers and sisters. Dorothy Day said, "We have all known the long loneliness, and we have learned that the only solution is love, and that love comes with community." And she taught us this by making community a core value of the Catholic worker movement. Archbishop Romero taught us that we don't just work together with those who are here with us now, but we work with those from the past and those in the future. He said, "We accomplish only in our lifetime only a tiny fraction of the magnificent enterprise that is God's work. Nothing we do is complete," which is a way of saying that the kingdom always lies beyond us. No statement says it all. No prayer fully expresses our faith. No confession brings perfection. No set of goals and objectives includes everything. This is what we are about, he said. We plant seeds that one day will grow. We water seeds already planted, knowing that they hold future promise. We lay foundations that will need further development. And our late friend, Jesuit Father Dean Brackley, challenged us to seek out our vocation, our direction, our trajectory in life through a path of downward mobility, suggesting that we have to have the courage to lose control, to feel useless at times, to listen, to receive. We have to have the courage to let our hearts be broken, have the courage to feel, to fall in love, the courage to get ruined for life, JVC. Have the courage to make a friend. And now today, we are here together, and we're challenged by Pope Francis, who inspired our theme, saying, to protect creation, to protect every man and every woman, to look upon them with tenderness and love, is to open up a horizon of hope. It is to let a shaft of light break through the heavy clouds. It is to bring the warmth of hope. And as an Ignatian family, we take this call very seriously. And I hope you get a chance to learn about the many ways that each of you illuminate hope in your communities. The Creighton University students who are fasting for immigration reform this past week, the Jesuit volunteers and Ignatian volunteer corps members that serve in this country and abroad, Staff at the Kino Border Initiative that continue to respond to the needs of people migrating across the border, the students at Loyola Academy and teachers who organized a fundraising effort for the typhoon victims, the Jesuit University Humanitarian Action Network will hold a day of solidarity for the Philippines on Friday, November 22nd. And even two very generous benefactors of ISN who've committed to match tomorrow night's collection at Mass, which supports ISN with the same amount as a donation to typhoon relief in the Philippines. Yeah. So in closing, I think we might learn about hope. The thing we might learn about hope is that it is tied up in our collective efforts, our sense of solidarity, recognizing that each and every person on this earth is our brother and our sister. Regardless of the color of their skin, their sexual orientation, the country that they call home, the amount of money they have, or any other differences we might see in our world, that we are all one human family, loved by God and called to love each other. So as we spend this time together, I would challenge you to explore the ways that you can illuminate hope in our world. But don't just do it and think about how you can do it. Let's think more importantly about the ways that we can come together, that we can unite, that we can be one Ignatian family in illuminating that hope. That's why we're together. That's why we invested the resources, the time, the energy, and that's why people helped us to be here, so that we can figure out ways of working together. Thank you so much for being here. We're tremendously grateful for your presence, and I hope you have a great experience over the next couple days. Thank you.